What if the most destructive part of your personality is actually the only part of you that's still alive?
Oof. Heavy for a Wednesday morning, Seth.
A bit, isn't it? But welcome even to Haanaan Winds. I'm feeling strangely centered today. Had a bit of a breakthrough with some systems theory reading last night, and it's finally making the chaos feel structured.
I wish I could say I felt that way. I'm currently vibrating on a mix of post-yoga bliss and a massive amount of caffeine. I finally fixed the coffee machine last night, so that was a spiritual victory, but I'm still trying to shake off this weird, restless anxiety.
At least you're not peeling. I am officially a human onion today. The sun won yesterday, and now I'm just flaking. I look like I've been through a very bad magic trick.
You look like a cautionary tale about SPF, Paco.
Speaking of chaos, where is Jane? She's usually the first one here to tell us we're being too dramatic.
She's currently mid-transit, likely hunting down a bookstore that smells sufficiently like dignity to appease her. She'll be joining us in a moment.
She's probably just hiding from the tourists. I saw a guy earlier eating a hot dog with enough mustard to coat a small car. It was a total transcendence killer.
Well, before Jane arrives to sharpen her wit against ours, I want to pivot. We've been talking a lot lately about optimization, how to be better, faster, more productive. But lately, I've been thinking about the cost of that constant ordering of the self.
The exhaustion of being good all the time? It's exhausting, isn't it?
Exactly, which is why I wanted to bring us to a text that looks at the exact opposite of order. Today, we're diving into the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv. We're looking at the unbecoming manifesto why we might actually need our inner demons to escape the burnout of toxic productivity.
Now, that is a concept I can get behind. Let's see if we can find the magic in the mess.
Okay, we have the text. We're looking at the preface and the first chapter of Koltuv's The Book of Lilith. And honestly, before we even get to the demons, look at how she starts. She says Lilith eluded this anthology for years.
Of course she did. You can't just trap a force of nature in a table of contents.
Exactly. She says she hates to be pinned down by the word. And then she gets really personal about why she couldn't write it. She mentions the heavy chains of iron used in amulets to ban her, and even the weight of Adam's body lording it over her.
Yikes. That's a lot of heavy imagery right out of the gate.
It's visceral, isn't it? It's about the literal physical pressure of trying to force something wild into a small, orderly space.
Right, and look at how she describes her breakthrough. She says she had to make a deal with Lilith. She'd repeat the stories told by men, the warnings, the legends, but in exchange, Lilith would have her way.
She anointed her body with oil and danced naked in the desert. Man, that's a hell of a way to conduct research.
But it's the only way to get to the truth, isn't it? You can't study the shadow by staying in the light. You have to witness the dance.
If you two are done romanticizing the desert heat, I have a headache that is currently performing its own ritual.
Jane, you made it. Did you find your dignity in that bookstore?
I found some dust and a sense of superiority. But I'm here. What are we breaking today?
We're breaking the myth of the good girl. We're looking at Lilith.
Fine. Let's see the carnage.
Okay, so, Jane, look at the snippet from the introduction. Koltuv is tracing this lineage. It's more than one thing. It's Sumerian storm spirits, Babylonian demons, even the child-killing witch Lamashtu.
It's like a cosmic contagion. She's everywhere. Seductress, vixen bogey, bloodsucker. The list of names is it's a graveyard of labels.
Those aren't names, Emily. Those are descriptions written by people who were terrified of her. It's classic othering.
That's the point, and it ties directly to what we were saying about the unbecoming manifesto. Look at this claim in Chapter 1. She is a counterforce, a balancing factor, an opposite but equal weight to God's goodness and maleness.
Wait, stop. An opposite but equal weight? That's a huge claim.
It changes the whole vibe. It's an equilibrium rather than evil versus good.
It's a bold claim to make in a world that spent millennia trying to erase her. But look at the Zohar quote she pulls in. The whole drama starts with the sun and the moon.
Yeah, the sun and the moon were equal in dignity at first. But then the sun basically tells the moon, how can a little candle shine at midday? And God tells the moon, go and diminish yourself.
Oh man, that optimization move. You're great, but you're too much, so just shrink.
Go diminish yourself. That is so painful to hear. It's exactly what we do to ourselves, in the name of being productive or palatable. We shrink our own light so we don't offend the sun.
And the result? The text says that because of this diminution, a membrane or a husk, a clefaiwaiber, was created. And from that husk, Lilith emerged.
Think about that. The shadow isn't just an accident, it's the byproduct of this suppression. Every time we force ourselves to be smaller or better or more controlled, we are literally creating the shell that allows this wild, uncontainable force to grow.
So, the demon is just the part of us that refused to shrink?
The part that lives in the husk.
And it's hungry.
Okay, let's look at the actual mechanics of the diminishment, because this is where it gets wild. There's this passage from the Zohar describing the separation. It says God, to settle the discord between moon and sun, caused the moon to diminish herself and go forth in the footsteps of the flock.
Go forth in the footsteps of the flock. That is such a lonely image. It's like she was told, you can stay, but you have to follow the crowd. You have to be part of the herd.
And the hierarchy was set in stone. The greater light by day and the lesser light by night. The text says the dominion of the day belongs to the male and the night to the female.
Wait, so even in the cosmic hierarchy, the men get the spotlight and the women get the shadows?
Exactly, but look at the cost. The text says that while both luminaries still rule, the moon clearly feels herself to be diminished. And here's the kicker, the part that connects back to that husk we were talking about. Because of this intervention, the Caliph of the husk of evil was born. And this is where Koltuv gets incredibly descriptive.
Oh wow. Lilith has the body of a beautiful woman from the head to the navel, but from the navel down, she is flaming fire.
Okay, so she's part supermodel, part wildfire. That is a lot of energy to manage in a single person.
It's more than a random mutation, Paco. Look at what Seth said earlier about the unbecoming. The text says her energy is derived from the resentment and diminishment of the moon. She is the literal embodiment of the resentment that happens when you're forced to shrink.
Right, and look how Koltuv links this to June. She says that these encounters with this dark feminine side are actually necessary for the permanence of the world. She uses this metaphor of building a house of stone for consciousness.
So you're saying we need the fire part of her to make the structure of our lives strong?
That's the claim. She says without this balance, our consciousness is just a wretched straw hut. To have a real permanent self, you have to integrate the shadow. You have to account for the fire.
Spoken like a true academic. But look at the next part. It gets even more structural. This bit about King Solomon and the nut garden.
The nut garden, is he out here talking about snacks or what?
He's talking about layers, Paco. He uses the analogy of a nutshell, a califa, to explain how these spirits inspire desire. It's like a brain with many membranes.
It's a beautiful, it's slightly dizzying image. Brain within brain and spirit within spirit, so that one is a shell to another. The text is saying the entire universe is built on this principle of layering and covering.
It's like the universe is an onion.
And I'm over here just trying not to make everyone cry while I peel it.
But look at the implication here. The shells are created for the benefit of the brain. Even the diminution, even the creation of these layers, is meant for the better ordering of the world.
But the ordering has a dark side. Look at this. She says Lilith arises from the side of stern judgment and punishment, the Gevura, and she emerges from the dregs of the wine.
The dregs. The stuff left at the bottom that nobody wants.
And she's not alone. She's paired with Samael, the devil. The text says they are intertwined like a single shoot. One is the male, one is the female, and they are red like the rose.
Red like the rose. That's strangely beautiful for a demon story.
It's the beauty of the primal, Paco. But don't forget the labels. For men, she's the secteftive witch or the strangling mother. For women, she's the dark shadow of the self.
It's the same pattern we started with. The labels are always about fear.
But then, and this is my favorite part of this whole section, it shifts. It moves from the cosmic and the terrifying to something incredibly earthy.
Here we go, the nature chapter.
The Zohar claims that Lilith is the soul of every living creature that creepeth. She is the soul of the great sea monsters, the Leviathan and its mate. She is the animating, instinctual, natural level of being.
That's a massive shift. She's more than this scary figure in the shadows. She is the pulse of life in the wild, the soul of the creature.
So she's the reason the animals move. She's the biological drive.
Precisely, and it ties back to the Adam myth. The text says that after Adam named all the animals, he felt this lustful longing. He saw the mating, and it made him realize his own aloneness.
Ah yes, the classic existential crisis triggered by watching the zoo maneuver.
But look at the biological claim here. The text says that originally Adam was both male and female, but after naming the animals, God separated the female from his side and brought this woman to him.
And the text explicitly says, this female was none other than the original Lilith.
Wait, so the perfect partner, the good wife, was actually the wild renegade original partner?
Exactly. The orderly version was a replacement. The good version was a reduction.
And then she brings it home to the body. Look at this last paragraph. She says Lilith is the animating, embodied sexual longing. And for women, she says, it's a pulsating, throbbing, primal, wordless state of being.
The kind of sexuality you feel right before your period, when the hormones are at their peak.
It's not something you can optimize or plan. It's just there. It's the raw, unmediated power of the body.
It brings us right back to the beginning. If the good version of ourselves is the one that follows the flock, then the Lilith version of us is the one that remembers how to pulse, how to hunger, and how to be incontainable.
I think I'm starting to like the dregs a little more than I thought.
Don't get too ahead of yourself, Paco. You're still a tomato.
A tomato with a soul, Jane. A tomato with a soul.
Okay, let's get into the heavy lifting. We're moving from the idea of Lilith as a force into the actual mechanics of her origin. And it starts with this incredibly dense passage from the Zohar.
Oh man. In the depth of the great abyss, there's a certain hot, fiery female spirit named Lilith.
Straight into the fire. No warm-up.
Right, but look at what happens to Adam first. He's not even a man yet, he's just this body. And the text says, 1,000 spirits from the left side, the side of evil, were trying to swarm him.
The cosmic struggle for Elise. Everyone wants a piece of the new guy.
Exactly. But then God intervenes. He sends a cloud to drive them away and breathes life into the dust. And here's the part that changes everything. When man arose, his female was affixed to his side, thus perfecting itself.
Wait, hold on. His female was affixed to his side. This isn't about Eve. This is about Adam being whole, like an androgynous complete unit.
Precisely. It echoes that earlier claim about the first creation account being about an androgynous, instinctual wholeness. He wasn't a man looking for a woman, he was a complete being with two sides.
And then comes the optimization we were talking about earlier. The good version of the story.
Yeah. The text says God sawed the man in two and fashioned Haanaan bride from the piece. And the moment Lilith sees this, the moment she sees the division, the moment she sees the order being imposed, she flees.
She flees because she can't exist in a fragmented state. She's part of that original unfragmented whole.
But look at where she ends up. She's in the cities of the seacoast trying to snare mankind. She becomes the ruin of the world.
Or, if you want to be generous, she's the residue of the original perfection that the new system couldn't contain.
And that brings us to the core tension of the book. Koltuv is looking at the discrepancy between these two creation accounts. The first, where everything is one and androgynous, and the second, the Yahwist version, where Adam is alone and it is not good.
It is not good that man should be alone. It's the beginning of the loneliness, the beginning of the need to fix the incompleteness by creating a subordinate.
Look at how he describes the second woman. He takes a rib, he builds it into flesh, and Adam says, "This is bone from my bones."
It's a great sales pitch, but it's a downgrade.
It's a massive downgrade. Look at the imagery Koltuv uses to contrast them. She brings in this poem, and guys, this poem it's intense. It describes Eve as having a repulsive fetal stench coming from a swamp's seething womb.
Oh wow, that is visceral. The nipples were phalanges of adult ring fingers. That is not a pretty description.
Okay, so Eve is a bit of a swamp monster.
No, Paco, she's the domesticated version. She's the herbivorous animal. Stolid. Predictable. Wonderless mouth.
Exactly. She is the mother of all those who live, which sounds great, but look at the cost. She has smooth skin without the marine gleam of shells. She's been stripped of the wild elemental magic.
But then look at how the poem describes the other side, the way Adam remembers Lilith.
When he saw Lilith, the sweetest demon, shining with female form, hooded by a labile ring of alchemic stars, advancing in bright fierceness.
The sweetest demon. That's the line. She's a monster and bright fierceness. She's the part of us that is shining even when she's terrifying.
Preceded by an incredible animal sporting a single high horn on its celestial forehead. Man, the imagery is just, it's like a fever dream.
It's the imagery of the unregulated psyche, before the rib and the flesh and the order.
And it ties back to what we were discussing about the unbecoming. The poem says the new Eve is looking for other demons in her likeness. She's beautiful, she's acrobatic, but she's unknown to Eden's other animals.
Because she's part of that split, the part of the feminine that was split off from procreation and motherhood.
The magic was stripped away to make the good version of motherhood possible, to make the orderly family possible.
And the cost of that order? The text says Adam sacrificed the unicorn, the creature of primordial oneness, to God.
Wait, so to get stability, to get this new ordered life, he had to kill the symbol of the whole?
He had to kill the connection to the wild, instinctual, unfragmented self.
He sacrificed the magic to become complete in a way that actually makes him lonely.
Welcome to civilization, everyone. It's much more efficient, but significantly less magical.
I think I'm gonna go put some more aloe on my nose. This much primordial truth is making my skin sting.
We'll be right back.
Honestly, if we keep digging into the primal psyche this fast, I'm going to need a much stronger drink.
I'm with Jane. Let's take 5 before my brain and my sunburn completely melts.
All right, let's settle back in. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into something a bit darker. We're looking at the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv.
And it's not a myth. We're talking about the part of ourselves we've been told to bury in the name of being a good person or staying productive. We're talking about the unbecoming.
Which honestly sounds like my spiritual practice on a Monday morning.
Maybe, but today we're exploring why the demon in the story might actually be the only part of us that's truly free.
I'm so ready. I've been feeling so, I don't know, tethered lately. Even after a great yoga session, there's this pressure to be ordered.
Speaking of ordered, I'm currently nursing a very disorganized, very peeling sunburn on my nose. I'm basically a walking metaphor for chaos right now.
Well, that fits our theme perfectly. Let's get into the text. We're starting right at the transition between the two creation stories. Koltuv writes about Eve made from Adam's rib being not as powerful or primordial as Lilith.
Wait, so Eve is the domesticated version? The one who fits into the system?
Exactly. He says Adam meets Lilith only at night with nocturnal erections as he lies dreaming. It's this wild, uncontainable energy that haunts the edges of his sleep. But then, he mentions the snare, this idea of her vengeful, murderous rage.
Okay, so we're jumping straight into the child killer trope. That's a heavy way to start a relationship.
It is, and the book moves into this section titled The Flame of the Revolving Sword. It pulls from the Zohar, which is heavy stuff. It links Lilith to the very sword that guards the gates of Eden.
So the thing that keeps us out of paradise is actually part of her?
Right. Look at this quote from the Zohar. Whenever men sin before God, those women, Lilith from the side of severe judgment, are charged to rule over them, those who are called the flame of the revolving sword.
Whoa. So she's running away, she's the consequence. She's the cosmic check engine light that turns on when the system fails.
It's so heavy. The text says she was brought out from the depth of the sea and that she wanders, finding children to, well, maltreat and kill. It linked all this violence to the moon losing its light.
It's a brutal image, but look how Koltuv phrases the synthesis here. She says Lilith is now goddess, now demon, now temptress, now murderess, ever flaming at the gates of paradise. She's everything the ordered world is afraid of.
It's like, if you try to prune a forest too much, eventually the wildness just breaks through the fence with a chainsaw.
That is a very Paco way of putting it. But wait, Jane is here. Jane, you're just in time. We're talking about the terrifying flaming sword of the feminine.
I heard terrifying and flaming, and I figured I'd show up. Also, I've had enough caffeine to participate.
Perfect. You're just looking at the tension between the ordered Eve and the primordially powerful Lilith.
Well, let's be real, the ordered version is usually just the version that's easier to manage in a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
So, where are we in the text? Are we still in the murderous rage phase, or have we moved to the why is she doing this phase?
We're actually moving into the why. The book starts discussing the alphabet Ben Sira. This is where we get the actual grievance. It says Adam and Lilith never found peace together.
Because she refused to lie beneath him in sex, right? Because she insisted on equality because they were both made from the earth.
Exactly. She uses the logic of their shared origin to claim her right to be equal. But then, and this is the pivot when she sees Adam is going to overpower her, she doesn't just argue. She uses the ineffable name of God and just flies away.
Honestly, relatable. If someone tries to steamroll my boundaries, I'm out too.
She moves to a cave by the Red Sea and starts, well, the text says, unbridled promiscuity and demonic babies.
Okay, so she goes from equality seeker to chaos agent real fast.
But look at the poem Koltuv includes. This is the heart of it. A woman poet writing about Adam. She says, what had the likes of me to do with the likes of Adam? She describes him as bland as logic and docile as a stamp.
Bland as logic. I'm stealing that for my next meeting.
She says he wanted to hoe the peas. Just simple, predictable agricultural order. But she is disorderable. She says, I gave a damn, and left my first love sucking his green thumb.
That's actually devastating. It's about more than anger. It's about the tragedy of being rejected because you won't be useful or orderly.
It's the unbecoming we were talking about. She'd rather be a misfit and mislaid in a cave than a well-kept prize in a garden.
And Koltuv ties it back to something huge. She says this Lilith hurt is real in psychology. It's that feeling of being diminished or having to shrink yourself to fit into a marriage or a job.
So the demon isn't the problem. The problem is the imposition of a male god, or any system that says you can only exist if you are submissive or predictable.
So the unbecoming isn't about becoming a monster. It's about refusing to be a stamp.
Precisely. To grow, you have to integrate that Lilith quality, the part of you that refuses to be bound, even if the world calls it chaos.
Man, I need to go sit in a cave and think about my life choices.
Just don't bring any demonic babies with you, Paco. We have a schedule to keep.
Okay, so we've established that Lilith is fleeing the order of Adam. But Koltuv takes this a further step. She suggests that Lilith's whole drive for movement isn't just about rebellion. It's a desperate attempt to reconnect with the spirit.
Wait, so she's not running away from a bad marriage? She's running toward something higher?
Exactly. Look at how she uses this Sohar passage. It says when Lilith first appeared, she was trying to cleave to the cherubim, these high celestial beings. She wanted to be shaped like them.
And the Holy One basically said, not today, and cast her down into the depths of the sea.
Talk about a cosmic rejection. One minute you're trying to ascend to heaven, the next you're face planting into the ocean.
But here's the kicker, Paco. The text says that when she saw Eve, the new version of woman clinging to Adam's side, it reminded her of that supernal beauty. So she tried to fly back up, and that's when she was officially banished to the sea.
So the very sight of the domesticated woman, the one who fits into the system, is what triggers her exile.
It's like the presence of the ordered life makes the loss of the spiritual life even more painful. And it's a Jewish myth too. Koltuv pulls in a Sumerian tablet. This is ancient, like 3 millennia old.
Let me guess, there's a hero with an axe involved?
Precisely. Gilgamesh. He shows up, slays a snake, scares off a bird, and Lilith, who is living in this tree, just tears down her house and flees to the desolate places.
It's the same pattern. Whether it's a divine god or a legendary hero, the masculine force comes in to clear the path, and the feminine wildness is forced into the margins.
It's like when I try to clean my apartment, and instead of making it better, I just end up destroying the ecosystem of my leftover pizza boxes in chaos. I'm basically Gilgamesh, but with more guilt.
You're not Gilgamesh, Paco. You're the snake at the base of the tree.
Actually, Jane, look at how Koltuv connects this to modern psychology. She says this flight isn't always a choice. She mentions Persephone being dragged into Hades or Psyche facing impossible tasks. She says, women, unlike men, do not shoulder a knapsack and sword. They feel cast out and forced into consciousness.
That is so heavy. The idea that for many women, psychological growth isn't a heroic quest you choose, but a catastrophe that happens to you. You don't go looking for the wilderness. The wilderness finds you when your old life collapses.
It's like this Jungian patient Koltuv mentions. The woman dreams of a knife, this magic knife that she uses to touch a house, and the entire house just falls away. She's left standing alone in the desert at night.
And June calls that knife the Luciferian mind. It's the part of you that trusts only itself and casts away the shelter of any traditional conviction.
It sounds terrifying. You destroy your shelter, your identity, your social role, and suddenly you have no protection. You're just in the dark.
But isn't that the point? The unbecoming? You have to burn down the house to see the stars.
That's exactly what the text is saying. The knife is used for protection against Lilith, but it's also the tool that is Lilith, the ability to cut through the bullshit and reach the essential nature of things.
And look at the imagery of the wilderness here. It's not a pretty meadow. It's a wasteland of thorns, thistles, and nettles. It's drenched with blood.
It sounds less like a retreat and more like a survival horror movie.
It is, and Koltuv says that for many women, this experience is felt as subjugated or rejected. They feel like a wounded or trapped wild beast.
I'm feeling a little bit like that wounded beast right now, looking at my sunburned nose.
But then, and this is the beautiful part, she mentions the screeching. The name Lilith literally calculates to the word screech.
Right. There's this myth of her battling another demon, Mahalath, on the Day of Atonement. They just scream at each other until the earth trembles.
Honestly, that sounds like a much better way to handle a disagreement than most people I know.
But look at the transformation. At the end of this section, she moves from this demon of screeching to the lady of the beasts. She becomes the wisdom of the night, the lunar owls, the wildness. It all finds its own ascendancy over the solar masculine logic.
So the unrelatedness, the period of being lost, alone, and unprotected, is actually the only place where the healing can happen.
Unrelatedness is required, she says. To integrate this part of yourself, you have to be able to sit in the menstrual hut, as she puts it, and actually face the wounds.
So the daemon isn't something to be exercised. It's the part of us that knows how to survive the desert.
Man, I think I need to stop trying to optimize my life and just learn how to screech a little more.
Just maybe not during our recording sessions, Paco.
All right, I'm losing my train of thought. Let's take 5.
Agreed. My brain needs a moment to process all that screeching. Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're looking at a different kind of strength. Not the kind you find in a gym or a corporate ladder, but the kind that lives in the shadows, the unbecoming. We're exploring why our inner demons might actually be the only way to escape the exhausting trap of being perfectly productive.
Yes, the optimized self is so exhausting. Honestly, I spent most of my morning trying to optimize my breakfast, and I ended up just staring at a piece of mango like it held the secrets of the universe.
And let me guess, you forgot to actually eat it.
Precisely.
We're diving into the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv today, and we're starting with this wild, almost cinematic imagery of Solomon and the Queen of Sheba who, as the text suggests, might actually be Lilith in disguise.
Wait, I love this legend. I was actually reading about the glass throne the other day. The idea is that Solomon, being this hyper-wise king, knew he couldn't trust his eyes, so he built a throne room with a glass floor to trick her.
To see her true nature?
Exactly. He wanted to catch her off guard. The text says, when she saw the throne, she thought it was sitting on water. She actually lifted her garments to cross the water, and that's when she was revealed.
And look how Koltuv phrases this. She says it revealed her hairy legs, showing her natural bestial origin.
Okay, that is a lot. But wait, look at what Seth is doing with the phrasing there. Bestial origin. It's more than a random detail.
Right? He's setting up this huge psychological claim. He says, Solomon, who is described as the divine form of the animus, isn't actually afraid of this side of her. He uses his wisdom to provide a mirror image that makes her face her own bestial Lilith nature.
So he's not trying to tame her? He's actually helping her see herself?
Exactly. He's acting as the mirror, and Koltuv takes this out of the myth and puts it right into our bodies. She says this happens in the real world, when a woman surrenders toward monthly moon cycle, or even the waves of birth pains.
That's so visceral. It's like she's saying that in moments of intense physical, instinctual experience like childbirth or even profound orgasm, you encounter this great goddess aspect.
But there's a catch, right? There's a massive but coming.
There is. She says if the woman is not emotionally related to her, she even more clearly experiences a shocked recognition of her bestial Lilith nature.
Which is exactly what happens when we try to suppress it. If you aren't conscious of that power, it becomes, well, demonic.
And that's where things get weird and scary.
Weird is an understatement, Paco. Look at this next part. She starts talking about the marriage between Lilith and Samael, the devil, and the thing that connects them is this: blind dragon.
The blind dragon? That sounds like something out of a fever dream.
It gets darker. She says the dragon is castrated so that he cannot beget, because if he did, his offspring would annihilate the world.
Man, the stakes in this book are always end of the world levels of high.
But look at the imagery, Paco. The blind dragon is between them. It's this unconscious, sightless force that forces a union between the two. It's like when we're driven by impulses we can't even see.
It's a warning. When you're disconnected from your conscious self, you aren't being wild. You're being driven by a blind, destructive force that doesn't care if you bleed.
That hits hard, especially because she follows that up with this actual dream or report. A woman named Lila wearing this white dress, her partner tells her to put her hand through a glass window to create a diversion for a crime.
Oh no, I can see where this is going.
She does it, it hurts her, she's bleeding, she's looking for help, and everyone just passes her by. And then her partner reappears, but he's wearing a black top hat and cape, and he announces, "I am Carnage."
That is heavy.
And the kicker? The dreamer was actually married to a real doctor. But because she was unconscious of her inner Lila's marriage to the devil, she was literally cut off from healing.
It ties back perfectly to what we were saying about the unbecoming. If you don't integrate the Lilith side, the instinctual, the wild side, it doesn't just go away. It turns into this power motive. It becomes carnage.
It's like, instead of being in control of your fire, you're just being burned by it.
And you're both missing the best part.
Jane, you made it.
I heard carnage in annihilating the world, and I figured I should drop by. Are we still pretending that the blind dragon is just a metaphor, or are we actually going to talk about the desert?
We were just getting to the part where Lilith goes on a rampage.
A rampage? She's the princess of screeching, Emily. Get it right.
All right, Jane. We're ready. Let's get back into the desert. Okay, so Jane's here, the tension is high, and we're looking at the aftermath of this carnage dream. Let's pick up where the text gets, well, crowded.
Crowded is one word for it. The author starts talking about Lilith's time in the desert, and it's like a whole multiplication effect is happening.
Exactly. Look at how she describes it. She says during her sojourn in the desert, a spirit of seduction emerged from her. And then this is the part that really messes with the idea of a single, unified identity. She starts populating the world with spirits and demons and Lilim.
It's like she went into the desert for a solo retreat and came back with a whole entourage of chaos.
An entourage that's actively trying to break things, Paco.
Right, Jane. The text says she and Samuel begat these alien and evil cohorts that are destroyers of the world of above and below. And then it gets even more specific and weirdly bureaucratic.
Wait, really? Like there's a census for demons?
It's almost like that. She lists these 4 desert queens, Lilith, Igrat, Mahalath, and Nyama. And then get this, it tries to sort them out by their specialties.
Let me guess. One does taxes, one does plumbing?
Not quite. It says Lilith forerunner with all men, but Nama only with Gentiles, and Naga another demon only with Israel. And Igrit? She's specifically sent to do harm on the nights before the Sabbath or on Wednesdays.
I mean, if you're going to be a demon, you might as well have a schedule. It's very middle management.
But look at the common thread, though. Regardless of the name, Lilith, Namaseh, the author says their energy is essentially Lilith, that deadly strangling, seductive, scorching energy.
It's all just different flavors of the same fire.
And that fire leads us to something called Serial, the son of Lilith and Ashmodai. This guy is intense. His face flames like the fire of flames. And apparently, on the night of Yom Kippur, he's called forth by the prayers of the elders, flying through the air with 131 warriors.
That sounds incredibly terrifying. But wait, look at what the author says right after that. She says this fiery prince actually brings enlightenment to those who call him forth.
So the demonic is actually the source of the light?
That's the claim. This is the unbecoming we started with. She says the demonic female element is a necessary and powerful aspect of the transpersonal shadow, because her domain is the hot, dry desert, the place where you are alone, where there is no emotional moisture.
I love that phrasing. The dearth of emotional moisture. It sounds so lonely, but also so clarifying. Like when everything is stripped away, you're forced to see the truth.
And she ties it straight to the women's movement. She says many of us felt that movement as an experience of the desert wilderness.
Yeah, she says we felt that vengeful rage at patriarchal suppression, searing us and destroying everything around us that bound us.
That's the unbecoming. It's a destructive, peaceful transformation. It's the fire burning the old structures down so something else can grow.
But she says that same heat aroused, doubled, and proliferated a demonic sisterhood, which she calls creative enlightenment. So, the rage is the fuel.
It's a pretty intense way to run a movement. No wonder I'm scared of my sunburn.
But then, the book takes this incredible turn. It moves from the historical messy lists of demons into this beautiful poetic creation myth by Lily Rivlin.
Oh, I've been waiting for this part. It feels so much more cosmic.
It starts with tohu vadyu, chaos and emptiness, and God's spirit is wavering. But in that atomic second, he encounters another, the pulse of the universe, a throbbing spirit.
The throbbing spirit called it love.
Look at how she describes the creation. It's a dance, not a command. God provides the order, the light, the structure, but the throbbing spirit provides the energy, the life.
And it's all about the interplay, the throbbing and the pulsing and the swirling. It sounds so much more alive than the typical let there be light version.
But here's the tragedy, the part that brings us back to Lilith. The text says God took the elements to make Adam an image of God, existing in order. But when it comes to Lilith,
she says she took the elements and made an image, and she breathed life into Lilith.
But, and this is the pivot, the wind had not passed through Adam. Because he lacked that connection to the wind, the throbbing spirit, he couldn't remember the birth of love.
So Adam is stuck in the order. He has the structure, but he's lost the pulse. He's lost the very thing that makes the universe move.
And that's why he needs the demon to come back and remind him?
Exactly. He needs the uncontrolled energy to break the stagnation of his own perfect order.
It's like we try so hard to be atom stable, structured, predictable, that we forget we were born from the throbbing spirit of the chaos. We've lost the rhythm.
And if you don't find that rhythm, you just end up with a very well-organized, very empty desert.
So, we've been talking about the unbecoming, that destructive fire that clears the way. But now, the text moves into a much more intimate and frankly much more unsettling territory. It looks at the aftermath of the blind dragon being neutralized.
You mean the castration?
Yeah. God, fearing that Lilith and Samael would just overrun the world with their demonic brood, he castrated Samael.
Brutal. It's like the way to shut down the wildness we were talking about earlier. Just cut the source.
Exactly. And he uses the same logic for the Leviathan in the Talmud. But look at what happens to Lilith. The text says that because she could no longer satisfy her desire with Samael, or maybe, and this is the kicker maybe, she still dreamt of Adam.
Of course she did. Because Adam is the sun disk, he's the perfection she can't have. So she has to haunt him.
And it gets so weirdly domestic in a nightmare sort of way. Adam is trying to do penance. He's refraining from intercourse with Eve for 130 years. He's even wrapping his waist in thorny branches to stay disciplinedly alone.
That is some hardcore asceticism right there. I can barely commit to a Monday morning workout and this guy's wearing thorns to stay celibate.
But while he's doing this holy work, Lilith is visiting him in his sleep. She's mounting him while he dreams. And the text says the plagues of mankind, are the creatures born from this specific union.
So the uncontrolled energy doesn't go away just because you put up some thorns. It just finds a way to leak out in the dark.
It's exactly what we were saying about the unbecoming. You can try to be the perfect, productive Adam, but the shadow of the Lilith is literally lurking under your doorways, in your wells, in your latrines.
And look how Koltuv describes her work here. She frames it from the perspective of masculine psychology. She says she is both desirable and dangerous.
I mean, look at the description. She's wearing all these ornaments, Egyptian cords, her hair is red like the rose, her cheeks are white and red. She's literally a walking trap.
It's like a predator using camouflage. She uses the sweetness in the world to lure them in, and then, look at the she, divests herself of all ornaments.
Yeah, once the fool is lost, once he's gone astray from the path of truth, she drops the act, the pretty colors, the smooth words. She turns into this menacing figure.
Clothed in flaming fire, with a sword dripping bitter drops, she kills the fool and casts him into Gehenna.
Okay, so the sashing isn't just about sex, it's about the destruction of the self. The sweetness is just the bait to get you to abandon your own truth.
That's the core of it. And it ties back to what Neumann said about the negative transformative aspect. She is the alluring and seductive figure of fatal enchantment. She is the nightmarish side of the feminine that appears when the moon is waning and the dogs of night are loosed.
It's so visceral. But then, the book shifts from this terrifying cosmic threat to this incredibly strange, almost erotic tale about a man named Benyai.
Benny, the man who was as a carcass.
Right. He's lying there in the dark, drenched in sweat, smelling like rot, stretching his hands into the darkness. And he feels something. A stiff, black shape, a female presence.
And it's more than a stranger. She knows him. She says, Benyai, you summoned me when you were still a little boy.
Wait, so he summoned a demon when he was a toddler? What was he doing? Playing with Ouija boards in the nursery?
Probably just being the child with too much, unregulated imagination.
She mocks him. She remembers him as this boy with calf-like eyes who wept because he couldn't marry yet. And then the tone shifts. She starts undressing.
And the imagery is so surreal. Her body is sparkling in the yellow darkness like the scales of a serpent.
And Benyai is losing it. He's screaming, "Get out! Go away, you monster!" He's throwing pillows and rags at her. He's literally trying to physically beat away the archetype.
But look at the end of the passage. This is the part that always trips me up. He's fighting her, he's terrified, he's calling her a whore, and then she just tickles his armpit.
What?
She just tickles him after all that cosmic terror?
She gently tickled his armpit, and the text says the pleasure ran through his entire body. He stops groaning. He starts tittering like an empty goat.
Because the line between terror and ecstasy is non-existent when you're dealing with the primordial, you can't fight the instinct once it's touched you. You either die or you start laughing.
It's unbecoming. You start by trying to throw pillows at your demons, and you end up tittering in the dark, completely undone by the thing you were trying to banish.
And that, I think, is the most honest way to end this chapter. The shadow doesn't care about your boundaries. It just waits for you to be a little bit vulnerable, a little bit unconscious, and then it finds the part of you that still knows how to feel.
I think I need to step away from this particular image before my brain melts.
Agreed. Let's grab some water and reset.
All right, let's pick this back up. Welcome back to the show. Today, we're stepping into the darker, more visceral corners of the psyche. We're looking at the unbecoming, the idea that to truly find ourselves, we have to stop trying to be good, and instead face the parts of us that are wild, even destructive.
And honestly, looking at the text we're opening today, good is the last word I'd use for what's happening here. We're diving into the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv.
Man, talk about a heavy start. I was just trying to recover from a sunburn, and now we're starting with a literal death scene.
It's intense. Let's look at this first passage. It's this man, Benyu. He realizes he's being visited by Lilith, and instead of fleeing, he's grinding his teeth. trying to drive her away through sheer physical aggression?
It's so primal. Look at how he describes it. He's storming like a wind. He's panting, screaming. He actually catches her in a corner, and he's digging his dirty fingers into her. It's not a romance. It's a struggle.
But wait, look at what he yells at her. He calls her Deborah. He calls her his dead wife.
Right. That's the psychological pivot. He's not fighting a demon. He's fighting the ghost of his own stability, his own ordered life. He's trying to force the wildness back into the shape of the domestic woman he lost.
And then, the reversal. She doesn't just escape. She grabs his beard, kisses him so hard he nearly falls, and then get this. She carries him to the bed.
Okay, so Zeke, victim, is actually the one in control. That's a classic Lilith move. But it ends so bleakly. And his blood stopped in his veins. Lilith had killed him.
It's an unbecoming. The encounter with the uncontrolled shadow can change you or even annihilate the ego entirely.
Which brings us to the Zohar quote later in the chapter. It says a man can be stirred up by the spirit and, well, he might just die. It describes Lilith as a vampire or a succubally force. Which brings us to the Zohar quote later in the chapter. It says a man can be stirred up by the spirit and, well, he might just die. It describes Lilith as a vampire or a succubally force.
You know, I was meditating on skin shedding earlier, thinking about rebirth, but this is more like skin being ripped off. You know, I was meditating on skin shedding earlier, thinking about rebirth, but this is more like skin being ripped off.
Exactly. But look at the next case study. This is where it gets interesting. A woman has a dream where a stake is driven through her heart to pin her to the ground. 3. But look at the next case study. This is where it gets interesting. A woman has a dream where a stake is driven through her heart to pin her to the ground.
Wait, that sounds terrible. Why would she need that? Wait, that sounds terrible. Why would she need that?
Because, as the text says, the stake was a necessary counterforce to Lilith's propensity towards sudden flight. 5-12. Because, as the text says, the stake was a necessary counterforce to Lilith's propensity towards sudden flight.
Oh, so the death of the demon is actually the birth of the person? Like, you have to pin the wildness down enough to actually integrate it, rather than just being chased by it? 6. Oh, so the death of the demon is actually the birth of the person? Like, you have to pin the wildness down enough to actually integrate it, rather than just being chased by it?
That's a huge distinction. It's not about killing the instinct. It's about making it stay long enough to have a conversation. 7s. That's a huge distinction. It's not about killing the instinct. It's about making it stay long enough to have a conversation.
Exactly. And that leads into what Jung calls the shamanistic Adamah. The author mentions that while Lilith is dangerous to the unconscious person, for the person on the path of consciousness, she is transformative. She's a ladder you can climb. Tack to back, exactly. And that leads into what Jung calls the shamanistic Adamah. The author mentions that while Lilith is dangerous to the unconscious person, for the person on the path of consciousness, she is transformative. She's a ladder you can climb.
This is the part that hits me. We spend our whole lives trying to be Eve, the stable, the productive, the good girl. But the text says Eve has nothing to do with magic. If you want the magic, you have to find the Lilith in you. 9 Scythe. This is the part that hits me. We spend our whole lives trying to be Eve, the stable, the productive, the good girl. But the text says Eve has nothing to do with magic. If you want the magic, you have to find the Lilith in you.
That's a heavy way to start a Tuesday. 10. That's a heavy way to start a Tuesday.
It's about the second half of life. The author argues that women don't really experience this Lilith energy consciously until they've done it all. The career, the kids, the social climbing. 11. Well. It's about the second half of life. The author argues that women don't really experience this Lilith energy consciously until they've done it all. The career, the kids, the social climbing.
Right. When the optimization phase of life ends and you realize there's a massive wild desert left to explore. Tina Well 420. Right, when the optimization phase of e-life ends and you realize there's a massive wild desert left to explore.
Like that poem in the text. She's not looking for a crude pestle or a blind ramrod. She's looking for a fellow creature with equal resources. An equal 24, like that poem in the text. She's not looking for a crude pestle or a blind ramrod. She's looking for a fellow creature with equal resources. An equal.
It's the search for the twin, the reintegration of the parts recast out, even if the path involves a bit of a dark cave and some mysterious turtles. 0114. It's the search for the twin, the reintegration of the parts we cast out, even if the path involves a bit of a dark cave and some mysterious turtles.
I'll take the turtle over the vampire any day. 15. I'll take the turtle over the vampire any day.
If you two are done discussing being eaten by demons, I have a question about the Golden West in that last stream. 16. If you two are done discussing being eaten by demons, I have a question about the Golden West in that last stream.
Jane, you made it. We were just discussing the integration of the shadow, not 17. Jane, you made it. We were just discussing the integration of the shadow.
Clearly, from what I heard, you're all one bad Tuesday away with a stake through the heart. Now, can we focus? I've had enough unbecoming for one morning. Tekanati, clearly, from what I heard, you're all one bad Tuesday away with a stake through the heart. Now, can we focus? I've had enough unbecoming for one morning.
Okay, Jane, don't worry. We've moved past the teeth grinding and the death. We're moving into something much more deliberate now. 19. Okay, Jane, don't worry. We've moved past the teeth grinding and the death. We're moving into something much more deliberate now.
Thank God. For a second there, I thought I'd have to start discussing how to properly apply a stake to a demon. 21. Thank God. For a second there, I thought I'd have to start discussing how to properly apply a stake to a demon.
No, it's actually much more lush. Look at how Koltuv starts this section. She's talking about Lilith seductress, not as a scary monster, but as a conscious ego function. 21. No, it's actually much more lush. Look at how Koltuv starts this section. She's talking about Lilith seductress, not as a scary monster, but as a conscious ego function.
Wait, ego function? That sounds so clinical. Like, instead of a nightmare, she's turning it into a tool? 22! Wait, ego function? That sounds so clinical. Like, instead of a nightmare, she's turning it into a tool?
Exactly. She's saying that women in the Old Testament, people like Esther, Judith, or even Delilah, weren't just falling into madness. They were using this Lilith energy to accomplish specific goals. She calls it using her seductiveness in the service of the feminine self. 23. Exactly. She's saying that women in the Old Testament, people like Esther, Judith, or even Delilah, weren't just falling into madness. They were using this Lilith energy to accomplish specific goals. She calls it using her seductiveness in the service of the feminine self.
It's like reclaiming the shadow. Instead of letting the wildness run wild and destroy you like beignet in that first story, you're bringing it into your conscious toolkit. 244. It's like reclaiming the shadow. Instead of letting the wildness run wild and destroy you like beignet in that first story, you're bringing it into your conscious toolkit.
So what? It's just high-level manipulation? Using selectiveness to get what you want? 2FT. Set. So what? It's just high-level manipulation? Using seductiveness to get what you want?
Well, look at the source she brings in. She quotes Dion Fortune, the occult novelist, describing her character Lilith LaFay. And it's not just about tricking people, it's about building a magical personality. 26. Well, look at the source she brings in. She quotes Dion Fortune, the occult novelist, describing her character Lilith LaFay. And it's not just about tricking people, it's about building a magical personality.
Oh, this is beautiful. Listen to this part. She says, "The once born cannot look into the heart, but one can suggest to them through the eyes what one wishes them to be seen." 27. Oh, this is beautiful. Listen to this part. She says, "The once born cannot look into the heart, but one can suggest to them through the eyes what one wishes them to be seen.
That is so much more subtle than just hitting them with a stick. She's talking about using the eyes, the atmosphere, even the lighting. Toniate. That is so much more subtle than just hitting them with a stick. She's talking about using the eyes, the atmosphere, even the lighting.
She even mentions using ancient things and dim light to keep the magnetism from dispersing. It's like she's creating a ritual space out of her own presence. 29. She even mentions using ancient things and dim light to keep the magnetism from dispersing. It's like she's creating a ritual space out of her own presence.
And the colors. Look at her palette. She's not using strong primaries like a man would use as a magus. She's using shadowy blended colors, opalescent moon, silver, plum, deep seawater blues. 34. And the colors. Look at her palette. She's not using strong primaries like a man would use as a magus. She's using shadowy, blended colors, opalescent moon, silver, plum, deep seawater blues.
It's the complete opposite of that productive, bright, sunny vibe we're always told to have. It's all about the shadows and the depths. 31. It's the complete opposite of that productive, bright, sunny vibe we're always told to have. It's all about the shadows and the depths.
It sounds incredibly exhausting. All that planning, the jewelry, the specific scents, the Exerian nose. It sounds like a full-time job of being a person. Tumblr 200, it sounds incredibly exhausting. All that planning, the jewelry, the specific scents, the Syrian nose. It sounds like a full-time job of being a person.
But Jane, look at what she says about the purpose. It's not about fashion. She explicitly rejects model gowns or surface-level fashion. She says she uses drapery and heavy fabrics because they have a richness that catches the soul. 33. But Jane, look at what she says about the purpose. It's not about fashion. She explicitly rejects model gowns or surface-level fashion. She says she uses drapery and heavy fabrics because they have a richness that catches the soul.
Right. She's trying to appeal to the archaic and primordial part of the human psyche. She's saying, they may have lovers, but I have been loved. 34. Right. She's trying to appeal to the archaic and primordial part of the human psyche. She's saying, they may have lovers, but I have been loved.
Ugh. That is a massive burn. They may have lovers, but I have been loved. That's a total psychological takeover. 35. Oof. That is a massive burn. They may have lovers, but I have been loved. That's a total psychological takeover.
It's the distinction between the ephemeral and the eternal. 36. It's the distinction between the ephemeral and the eternal.
Okay, I'll admit that's a punchline. But she's still talking about herself as a creature. She mentions tiger teeth and furs and being a cold-blooded creature. 37. Okay, I'll admit that's a punchline. But she's still talking about herself as a creature. She mentions tiger teeth and furs and being a cold-blooded creature.
But that's the point, isn't it? She's embracing the animalistic. She's not hiding the beast. She's dressing it in emeralds and pearls. 38. But that's the point, isn't it? She's embracing the animalistic. She's not hiding the beast. She's dressing it in emeralds and pearls.
And look at the very end of the passage. The focus shifts to scent. She talks about sandalwood, cedar, and even the harsh, musky smell of galbanum. She says the theology of scents is as if all the trees of paradise were burning. 39. And look at the very end of the passage. The focus shifts to scent. She talks about sandalwood, cedar, and even the harsh, musky smell of galbanum. She says the theology of scents is as if all the trees of paradise were burning.
Wow. That's intense. It's like she's trying to make the very air around her feel like a sacred, slightly dangerous ritual. 40. That's intense. It's like she's trying to make the very air around her feel like a sacred, slightly dangerous ritual.
It's definitely a far cry from the good girl vibes my friend was giving off at the grocery store earlier.
Exactly. It's about moving from being a person who is simply observed to being a person who evokes.
It all ties back to that opening idea. The unbecoming isn't just about falling apart. It's about stripping away the fake, the optimized layers, until you find this primordial, scented, heavy jeweled power underneath. even if it's a bit terrifying. Okay, so we've been talking about this idea of reclaiming the shadow, but now the text gets really, well, it gets really paranoid.
Paranoid is an understatement. Look at this section from the Zohar. It's literally giving instructions on how to and protect your marriage from the bedsheets.
Wait, what? Lilith is always present in the bed linen? You're telling me she's just lurking in the sheets?
According to the Zohar, yes. It says she's there to take hold of the sparks of anything lost during the act. She's like a cosmic vacuum for the divine energy that escapes during intimacy.
So basically, a mood killer. Nothing says romance like checking your linens for a demon before you get started.
But look at the ritual they prescribe. It's wild. The man has to sanctify his heart and say this whole prayer about a black velvet robe and the sea is heaving. He has to cover his head and his wife's head and then get to sprinkle clean water around the bed.
Talk about a high-maintenance Friday night. Honey, hold on, I need to sprinkle the perimeter before we can proceed.
It's fascinating, though, because it shows how much effort went into trying to fence off the wild part of the feminine. They were literally trying to create a chemical or spiritual barrier around the sexual act to keep the Lilith part from leaking in.
It's about more than protection, Seth. Look at what the text says about Noah. It says his family suffered from the bad odor of the spirits, demons, and Lilith.
That is visceral. So it's a psychological shadow and a literal stinking presence in this tradition.
And it's more than just the danger. Look at how the author describes the creation of Eve. This is where it gets really provocative. It says God tried to make Eve chaste and devoid of Lilith qualities.
Wait, so the whole point of Eve's creation was to edit out the magic.
Exactly. He describes God trying to avoid making her from the head so she wouldn't be arrogant, or from the eyes so she wouldn't be wanton. He was trying to engineer a woman who was, well, safe.
A safe woman. That sounds like such a boring person. No edge, no spark, just chaste portion of the body.
And yet the text admits he failed. In spite of the greatest caution used, woman still has all the faults God tried to obviate.
This is such a huge connection to what we were saying earlier about the unbecoming. The faults they're so afraid of, the wandering eye, the insolent neck, those are the Lilith qualities. They tried to build a wall, but the essence of the archetype leaked through the cracks.
And look at this beautiful haunting line at the end. The idea that lilies spring from Eve's tears, and the pun on Lily and Lilith.
That's heavy. The purity of the flower and the sin of the demon, both coming from the same grief.
It's more than grief, Paco. Look at the final claim here. It says it's impossible to know woman, or to be a woman without encountering both Lilith and Eve.
That's it. That's the whole point. You can't have the stability of Eve without the wildness of Lilith. If you try to kill the Lilith part, you just end up with a hollow version of Eve.
You can't have the garden without the serpent. You can't have the person without the shadow.
My brain is actually buzzing from that. I need a moment to just breathe.
Let's take a quick breather. Grab some water, everyone.
All right, let's get back into it.
Welcome back. Today we're diving into something heavy but vital. We're looking at the unbecoming, the idea that to actually find ourselves, we have to stop trying to be perfect and instead face the parts of us we've been taught to repress.
And let's be real, the pressure to be perfect is exhausting. It's like we're all running this endless optimization program in our heads.
Tell me about it. I spent half of yesterday meditating on how my peeling sunburn is basically a metaphor for reincarnation. I'm literally shedding my old self.
That's a stretch, Paco, even for you. But it's actually a great segue. We're looking at the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv. She's exploring this archetype of Lilith, not as a monster, but as this necessary wild revolt against the good girl or good man programming.
Right. And she starts off by showing us how visually, historically, Eve and Lilith were practically glued together in a very dark way. She points to these 15th century sculptures where you have the Virgin Mary sitting right on top of a base that shows Eve eating the apple, and then Lilith with a woman's face and a serpent's body.
It's a heavy image. The new Eve, the Virgin, is literally surmounting the old Eve and the demonic Lilith. It's like the church was saying, who's crushed both the temptation and the wildness.
But then Koltuv gets personal. She moves away from the museum pieces and starts talking about her own connection to this. She says she felt repelled by Eve, this submissive blonde creature who just falls for a snake's line.
I felt that when she describes her own internal landscape. It's not some peaceful, manicured Garden of Eden. She talks about rough yellow and brown deserts, iron gray molten rock, and golden thistles. It's gritty. It's visceral.
Exactly. She says, I was animal, I was God, I was substance and pulsing orifice.
Okay, wow, that is intense.
It's a complete rejection of that clean spirituality we often see. She's saying the civilized layers are just covers over something throbbing and primal.
And she ties this into how modern women encounter this Lilith nature through the mirror. She quotes the Zohar calling Lilith the unclear mirror of prophecy.
If you're talking about mirrors, I hope you aren't talking about my hotel room mirror. It's got a crack in it that's doing a great job of making me look like a fragmented mess.
Jane, you're just in time. We're talking about the mirror as a trap.
A trap? Sounds like my Tuesday.
Well, look at what Koltuv brings up. She uses this excerpt from Isaac Bashevis Singer. He describes a demon Samael, Lilith's husband, who can install himself inside a mirror like a spider in a web. He waits for the fly, the vain, lonely woman, to get caught.
It's such a haunting image. The idea that our own vanity, or our obsession with our reflection, is actually where the shadow waits to ambush us.
So, is the mirror the enemy or the tool? Because I'm currently using mine to check if I've survived the day.
It's both. Koltuv shows the story of a woman named Zyril. She has this beautiful blue-as-ice mirror in her boudoir. She sits there naked, admiring her skin and hair, imagining princes and knights. But the demon is there, and it brings her face to face with Lilith. It leads to unconscious possession.
Which is so scary because it's not a conscious choice. It's just happening while you're lost in your own image.
But then and this is the part that actually gave me chills, she brings up this other woman. A patient of her analyst, this woman had a sudden massive outburst of rage after a moment of being interrupted during a flirtatious moment with her lover.
And in her dream, she's looking in the mirror and she asks, am I still black?
Wait, that's such a powerful pivot. She's asking if her anger, her darkness, makes her bad. In the mirror reflecting her, and her analyst tells her, you are black but comely, it is the sun that has burned you. Your mother's sons turned their anger on you. Had you only looked after your own?
That is a heavy hitter.
It's a total reframe. The blackness, the perceived darkness or sin, isn't her nature. It's the result of being burned by the expectations and the vineyards of others. The mirror is telling her that her anger is actually a reaction to being enslaved by masculine, judging attitudes.
So the blackness is just the scar tissue of trying to be good.
Exactly. And it ties back to what we were saying about the unbe thing. The blackness is the shadow of all that suppressed vitality.
But it's not all easy breakthroughs. The end of this passage is. It's actually quite heartbreaking. She talks about a woman who is sexually cold because her Lilith side is completely split off. Her husband is this bland sky.
Oh, I know that type. The unwavering good humor guy. He's just watching her like an animal in a zoo.
Right. He is patiently watching her nervous explosions and a sheath of egotism, but he refuses to enter the arena with her. He won't meet her in the jungie of her actual emotions.
It's so stifling. He's not even fighting her. He's just waiting for her storm to pass.
Sounds like every calm person I've ever met.
And Koltuv ends this section with this incredibly visceral, almost violent longing. She says if the husband had met her with that same electric tension, if they had met in the fury with the teeth and the tongues and the sparks of their bodies, then the tension could have actually transformed into an embrace.
So the demon isn't the problem. The problem is the refusal to actually engage with the intensity.
Yeah, the tragedy isn't the storm. It's the person standing there with an umbrella refusing to get wet.
Okay, we're moving into the heart of it now. We just left off that heavy, stifling moment with the husband who won't get wet in the storm. But Koltuv offers this parable. It's almost like a mythic resolution.
It's beautiful. It's not a resolution of peace, though. It's a resolution of integration.
Right. So, there's this man, Adam, and he's alone. And Lilith shows, but she's not a monster here. She's disguised in the clothes of an ordinary, simple, agreeable woman.
Oh man, an undercover mission.
She's testing him. She asks, where is your woman, the one who came to replace me? And Adam, he's honest. He says Eve is away and that Eve is actually afraid of Lilith.
And look at Lilith's response. This is the part that gets me. She says, I am as simple in my heart as she is. Our difference is hidden in the mind, not in our bodies.
Wait, I caught that last bit. Hidden in the mind. Is this about that split personality thing you were discussing? Because I feel like I'm living in that split today.
Welcome, Jane. Precisely. She's saying the physical, the instinctual, the body is the same. The division is a mental construct.
A construct I'd very much like to dismantle.
So, Adam tries to play it safe. He says, I love you, but I need a peaceful life. He chooses the Eve version of stability. But Lilith, she just says, have it your way. I will not leave you.
She's the I'm not leaving ghost.
And then the magic happens. Adam looks into her eyes, and Koltuv says they were like doors wide open into a world he had almost forgotten, and he just steps inside.
And here's the wild part. Eve comes home, she finds them in each other's arms. And instead of a confrontation, a fight, or a scandal, she enters a trance. She leaves her own body and enters the body of Lilith.
Wait, so she's literally hijacking the demon to experience the passion herself?
Exactly, she embraces and kisses Adam through her sister. She's tasting the very thing she was afraid of.
That is some high-level cosmic multitasking.
But it creates this terrifyingly beautiful friction, because Adam is confused. He's feeling this intense, sudden passion, and he's like, why are you so passionate? You're just Eve. And the voice, which is Eve speaking through Lilith, is like, I am staying with you because you are full of fire for this other woman.
It's so meta. He's only truly alive and passionate when he's interacting with the shadow. The peaceful life he wanted actually vanished.
So the peace was actually just a lack of presence, a numbness.
Exactly. And the parable ends with this haunting image. Adam looks for Eve, the good wife, but he can't find her. All he sees are the flames from the stove.
The wife has literally become the fire.
It's the unbecoming we started with. She had to burn away the Eve persona to let the heat of the experience through.
But we have to be careful, because the book takes a sharp, dark turn immediately after this. We go from this beautiful, unified dance to Lilith, this child killer.
Oh man. Here we go, back to the horror movie.
It's brutal. He references the Zohar, where it says Lilith was cast into the depths of the sea and then given power over the little faces of the sons of men.
Little faces? That sounds disturbingly cute for a demon.
It's meant to be the vulnerability of the child. The text says she uses this power to punish children for the sins of their fathers.
It's so much harder to hold the integration idea when you're looking at amulets designed to protect babies from her.
Right, but look at the context Koltuv provides. She's linking this to the daughters of Eve. She says they suffer two sides. Eve, the life-nourishing mother, and Lilith, the punitive, child-killing lash of God.
So the same feminine energy that brings life is also the one that, well, snatches it away.
It's the extreme of the cycle. It's the unpredictable nature of the wild. It's a metaphor for being rebellious and the literal, terrifying power of nature, the storm, the flood, the thing that doesn't care about your peaceful life.
And she ties it to the biological cycle, the raging premenstrual witch who carries a woman away to the desolate wilderness.
You know, I think I've met that witch. She usually shows up around 3 a.m. when I'm staring at a deadline.
She's the part of us that refuses to be optimized. She's the part that says, I don't care about your schedule, I am the moon, and I am waning.
It's a rejection of toxic productivity. You can't schedule a Lilith moment. You can only survive it.
Or, build a really nice silver amulet and hope for the best.
Which, as we saw in the text, people have been doing for centuries. Whether it's a fish-shaped amulet from Morocco or a silver necklace from Persia, the goal is the same, trying to find a way to live with the wildness without being consumed by it.
Careful, Seth. If you keep trying to analyze the wildness into a spreadsheet, I'm going to let that 3 a.m. witch loose on your study.
I believe my data is quite robust against supernatural interference, Jane.
Let's take a breath before we get too deep into the shadows.
And we are back.
Welcome back. Today we're stepping into the shadows. We're talking about why being good might actually be killing your soul, and why the monster we've been taught to fear, Lilith, might be the only thing capable of saving us from burnout.
Or at least the only thing capable of making life interesting. Honestly, after seeing how much I've been peeling lately, I'm starting to relate to the whole shedding the old skin thing, even if I look like a sunburned tomato.
You're a very bright tomato, Paco. But seriously, we're looking at Barbara Black Koltuv's The Book of Lilith, and the premise is heavy. The war between the good Eve and the wild Lilith isn't just a myth that's happening inside us every single day.
Right, and look how she starts this passage. She sets up this binary. Eve can have her needs met in a relationship, but Lilith, she must cut and run. She refuses dependency. She refuses to be pinned down.
That sounds like a nightmare for anyone trying to maintain a stable schedule.
But it's more than just being difficult, Paco. Look at what she says next. Lilith is an aspect of the ego that needs the wilderness. She needs to be unrelated, without arouse, and childless.
It's a brutal way to put it. It sounds so lonely. But she connects it to Eve, who mirrorly Eve's jealousy because she feels fettered to the earth by men and children.
So it's a cycle. Eve is stuck in the domestic, the good, the predictable, and Lilith is out in the dark, just wandering.
And it gets darker. She brings in the myth of Lamia, this creature that brings dead children into the world. It's terrifying.
Are we really going to talk about child-killing demons as a metaphor for productivity? Because that's a bit much, even for this show.
Jane, you're here. We were just getting to the juicy, terrifying parts.
I see you're already halfway into the abyss. Fine. But if we're discussing this, let's be real. The child-killing part is clearly a projection of how much women hate the nurturing role when it becomes a prison.
Exactly, that's the thesis. Let's look at the Zohar quote here. Lilith sees Evelyn clinging to Adam's side, and she just flies away. She goes to the Red Sea, she's gone.
And then she comes back for revenge, to ever after wreak her revenge on the children of mankind.
Which, if you look closely at the text, is where the psychology gets really visceral. Koltuv points out that clinging is the problem. She says women who have these strong infantile needs for love and approval are the ones Lilith strangles.
That's a heavy way to frame dependency. But look at the contradiction she highlights right after. This is where the book gets wild. Lilith is sometimes the one playing with babies, making them smile and dream.
Wait, so she's a nursery rhyme character and a murderer?
She is. She causes the tangle of hair in the lauder and delight, but she also causes epilepsy, strangulation, and death.
It's the duality of the instinctual. It's either pure, life-giving play or total, unbridled destruction. There is no middle ground when you're dealing with the primordial.
And that's the unbecoming we're talking about. The murderous rage of Lilith shows up when the Eve side is pushed too far. Like when a woman is trying to juggle a career, kids, and a marriage, and she's exhausted, she feels that fiery uprush.
It's more than stress. The author says this rage comes most often when the mother herself is in need of mothering. It's the rebellion of the self against being a mere utility for others.
That hit hard. That's not a tangent. That's a direct hit to the solar plexus.
It ties back to everything we said about toxic productivity. We try to be the angel in the house, which, by the way, the author includes this incredible personal account of a woman who literally says she had to strangle that persona in self-defense.
I caught her by the throat. I did my best to kill her. That is the most relatable thing I've heard all week.
But the tragedy is when that split becomes self-destructive, like when it manifests as eating disorders, the binging and purging cycles. It's the Ev trying to control the Lilith through starvation or deprivation.
So, how do we stop the killing? How do we stop the strangling?
Well, she mentions a love receipt with a magic egg and a mirror. Sounds like a lot of word for a date.
It's a metaphor, Paco. The mirror is the key. You need the mirror to transform the destruction into self-acceptance.
And then there's the Solomon story, a total wait what moment. He's presented with two women claiming the same baby. One baby is dead, one is alive.
And he threatens to cut the baby in half. Classic legal drama.
But the true mother is the one who says, give it to her, but do not destroy the child.
Because the true mother has integrated the split. She doesn't need to possess the child or kill the instinct. She uses wisdom of the heart to protect the life.
It's about moving from the clinging of Eve and the flight of Lilith into a state where you can actually inhabit your own skin without being consumed by the roles you play.
A heavy place to leave it. Next time, we'll look at how to actually use that mirror without losing your mind. All right, We talked about the psychological tension, but now we're looking at the actual methods used to kill the vibe. Or, well, to kill Lilith.
And it's not subtle, is it? The chapter title alone is Cast Out and Redeemed, but the first half, it's just suppression.
It's brutal. Look at this description of these Babylonian incantation bowls. They weren't just trying to ignore her, they were trying to physically pin her down. They used iron.
An iron peg in her nose? An iron pinch in her mouth? Honestly, that sounds like a very intense way to handle a disagreement in a relationship.
It's not a disagreement, Paco. It's an exorcism. They're literally trying to bind her limbs with iron and her feet with stone.
Right, but look at the imagery here. They're using these bowls to write Divins Writs to her. They're essentially saying, you are officially evicted from reality.
And it's more than physical binding. It's a verbal eviction. Listen to this. They call her a hag, a ghoul, a snatcher. They're using every slur in the book to strip her of her dignity.
It reminds me of how we talk about difficult people today. We don't use iron pegs, but we sure do use labels to make them disappear. Oh, she's just toxic, or she's just unstable.
Exactly. You don't have to use a magic formula to cast someone out of your social circle. You just have to label their autonomy as madness.
And it gets even more, well, grim. Look at this tale from the Brothers Grimm. Lilith appears as an owl, this massive, horned, terrifying thing perched in a barn.
And the villagers don't try to understand the owl. They don't ask why it's there. They grab pitchforks and scythes.
And the brave hero, he makes it to the 5th rung of the ladder, and then he's out of there.
Yeah, the bravest man in the village is the first one to run. But look at the end of the story. The villagers are so terrified of this presence that they basically pay the farmer to let them burn the whole barn down.
Where the barn had once stood, nothing but gray ashes remained.
That's a metaphor for the unbecoming we talked about earlier. When we can't integrate the shadow, we suppress it and burn the whole structure down. We destroy the barn, the space where life happens, just to get rid of the monster.
It's a scorched earth policy for the psyche, and it goes beyond European folklore. Koltuv brings in this Hasidic tale about Rabbi Joseph of Safed. He actually tries to capture Lilith and Samiel.
And they show up as 2 black dogs, which, honestly, is a bit of a letdown. I was expecting something more eldritch, terrifying.
Don't be fooled by the dawn disguise. This is where the unbeknownst part gets dangerous. The rabbi is following all the rules. No food, no drink. Extreme precaution.
But he slips. Just a tiny bit. Samiel asks for just a sniff of some frankincense, just a little scent.
And the demon turns that vapor into a spark that burns the rabbi's hand, and this is the kicker, shatters the bonds.
Wait, so the very act of trying to be holy and controlled actually gave the demon the opening to break free?
Precisely. The text says the rabbi unwittingly was engaged in idolatry. By trying to manipulate the sacred to enforce his own will, he actually broke the very containment he worked so hard to build.
It's a warning. You can't use the tools of order to permanently imprison chaos without eventually feeding the chaos itself. The moment you try to manage the wildness, you've already lost the battle.
Which brings us back to where we started. If we keep trying to bind our Lilith with iron pegs and social contracts,
we're just waiting for the moment the bonds snap, and when they do, we might find ourselves standing in the ashes of our own lives. Okay, so we left off on a pretty devastating note. Rabbi Joseph, well, the text says he basically ended up married to the malicious Lilith. And he didn't just marry her, he polluted himself, using holy names and conjurations to do evil.
Yikes. Talk about a bad marriage counselor. He went from trying to contain the demon to, what, becoming a part of the chaos?
It's like the containment failed so completely that the person in charge of the boundary just became the breach.
But look, there's a shift here. The author moves into a section called Red and Pigeon, and she starts with this incredibly weird 15th century magic incantation. It's meant to bring a beautiful maiden into a bedroom.
Because nothing says healthy relationship like a ritualized magical summoning of a stranger.
Right, but look at how Koltuv frames it. She says, while Egrath is not precisely Lilith, we can learn something about how to deal with female sensuality. She's saying we shouldn't ignore the power. We should approach it with a high level of consciousness.
I mean, the instructions are pretty specific, though. Separate room, clean white bed, clothes, fumigated with aloe wood. If you're going to summon a demon maiden, you might as well be hygienic about it.
Exactly. It's not about suppression, it's about preparation. The text uses these heavy, terrifying names, Metatron, Sandalphon, but the method is about creating a huge, intentional space. It's the opposite of that burning the barn we talked about earlier.
It's the difference between a panic attack and a meditation. One is reactive, the other is intentional.
And then she brings in this Hasidic tale about a man who is already possessed by Lilith. He's literally being hunted. He goes to Rabbi Mordecai for help.
And the rabbi's first instinct is, lock all the doors, don't let anyone in.
Right? The classic fortress mentality. But the man is stuck in a hayloft and Lilith shows up immediately. She says, "Come down to me."
And here's the hook. The man doesn't just cower. He actually interrogates her. He asks, "Why do you want to do that?"
This is huge. He doesn't just run. He finds out there's an herb in the hay that's preventing her from coming near him. He starts testing herbs. Is it this one? Is it that one? Until he finds the culprit, binds it to his chest, and he's free.
So the freedom wasn't about building a bigger wall. It was about identifying the specific thing that was creating the attraction to the shadow.
Precisely. You have to know the mechanism of your own undoing.
It reminds me of the story of Haanaan and the frog that she brings up next. This one is, honestly, it's a bit surreal. A man buys a silver box, finds a frog, and just decides to take care of it.
A frog. He spends his entire life savings feeding a frog? That is some serious commitment to a pet.
But look at the payoff. He builds the frog a cabinet, then a room, then the finest foods. He literally goes broke for the frog.
And the frog rewards him. It gives him the ability to understand every language, even the speech of birds. It brings him jewels and healing herbs.
But then, and this is the part that gave me chills, the frog reveals its identity. It says, "I am the son of Adam and Lilith."
Wait, so the treasure he's been nurturing is literally the offspring of the very thing he was supposed to fear?
It's such an integration. He didn't fight the offspring, he fed it. He cared for the wild part of the lineage until it became a source of wisdom rather than a source of terror.
It perfectly illustrates what the author is saying. Enlightenment comes from intentionally taking in and caring for this offspring of Lilith.
It's the antithesis of the burning the barn metaphor. Instead of burning the structure because of the owl, Haanaan builds a palace for the frog.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm ready to go broke for a frog, but I get the point. You have to stop treating your shadow like an intruder and start treating it like a guest you haven't met yet.
Just don't expect the guest to pay rent.
True, but the text ends on this incredible note with the Queen of Sheba. She goes to Solomon to prove him with hard questions.
And the author says she does this in a Lilith-like manner. She uses temptation, riddles, and testing. She's using her wild energy to engage his wise energy.
And it works. She sees the truth for herself. She says, "The half was not told me."
It's that final, beautiful loop. The Lilith side of her, the side that is testing, tempting, and searching, is exactly what allows her to receive the Solomonic wisdom.
It's not about the victory of one over the other. It's the collision of the two that creates the expansion.
Which brings us back to the very beginning of the book, The Terrifying Struggle. Because even with all this wisdom, the text ends with the angels trying to force Lilith back to Adam under threat of death.
And the deal they strike, it's so bleak. She agrees not to harm the children if they don't put her name on amulets, but in return, she'll spitefully turn against her own if she can't get to the human infants.
So the peace treaty is just a different kind of war.
Exactly. The struggle isn't over. It's just moved from the battlefield to the nursery. And that's a perfect place to wrap up for today. Let's step away from the nursery for a second and clear our heads.
Yeah, before the gloom settles in for good.
All right, let's take this back up.
All right, we're back. We've been talking about the pressure to be perfect, that exhausting drive to optimize every second of our lives. But today, we're looking at the alternative.
The unbecoming, the messy, dark, unoptimized side of the soul.
The side that doesn't care about your 5-year plan or your morning routine.
Exactly. We're diving into the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv. And we're starting with some heavy lifting, literally. We're looking at these ancient passages from the Zohar.
It's intense. I mean, even before we get to the text, the book shows these medieval amulets. They're meant to protect people from Lilith, specifically during childbirth.
Yeah, and it's wild. You see these names, Vi, Sanzan, Vi, these angels meant to block her. It's like a spiritual firewall.
It sets the stage perfectly for the first claim we're encountering. Look at how the text describes these stolen souls. It says God actually allows Lilith to take these infant souls because if they stayed, they'd turn sour like vinegar.
Wait, hold on. So the text is saying that the demonic act of snatching these souls is actually a form of preservation?
That's exactly what it says. The Holy One gathers them in their infancy while their savor is still sweet and allows them to be wrenched away by that maidservant, namely Lilith.
That is a massive reframe. We usually think of Lilith as this pure predator, right? But here, she's almost like a cosmic scavenger, or a way to prevent something from becoming spoiled.
It's so much more complex than good versus evil. It's about the preservation of essence. But then look at how it gets darker. The text says these souls are in sore bondage. It's not a happy way to save someone.
Right, but notice the pivot. It says it's not permanent. When the soul gives forth a good savor, the Holy One will redeem her. It's this revolution of the wheel. Everything is in motion.
If I may... That revolution sounds a lot like the cosmic headache I've been dealing with all morning.
Jane, you made it. We were just talking about the sourness of souls.
Clearly, I see you're already deep into Zohar, still feeling like a stolen soul yourself?
We were just reacting to this idea that Lilith isn't just destroying. She's sometimes the one holding the sweetness before it rots.
Spoken like a true pessimist. But look at what you're reading. This part about the lineage. It's getting much more visceral.
It really is. Jane, look at this section where Koltuv brings in the Adam and Lilith connection. It says the plagues of mankind come from the 130 years Adam spent with Lilith after the Cain and Abel thing.
And it's more than a one-off affair. The text says Eve bore Cain from the filth of the serpent Samel. It's this whole web of, well, let's call it unauthorized biology.
It's so heavy. And then there's Naamah Lith the Younger. She's out there in the waves, making sport of men through their lustful dreams.
And here's the link to our theme. See how the text describes her children? They are half of the lower and half of the upper sphere. They are these hybrid beings.
Which is exactly why we can't just delete them from our psychology. You can't just delete the parts of yourself that are half demon.
Right, because they are part of the architecture of the world. But look at how the text says Naamah clings to her own evil side and goes out to find her little ones. It's a cycle of infection, or just intense unbridled life.
It feels like an obsession with continuity. This idea that lust and dreams create these new other species that eventually all flow back to the ancient Lilith. It's like a massive dark ecosystem.
And it ties back to that first point. If the Eve side of us is about the social contract, the Naamah or Lilith side is this relentless biological drive that refuses to be contained.
But don't forget the protection part. All those amulets we saw, they're trying to use the holy to stop the instinctual.
Exactly. The text mentions these three angels Phi and the others trying to intercept the spirit. But then the author, Koltuv, makes this incredible claim at the end.
I saw it. She says the encounter between Lilith and the angels ends in an everlasting draw.
An impasse. Neither side wins.
An everlasting draw between upper and lower and masculine and feminine powers.
That's the unbecoming I can get behind. It's not about defeating the shadow, it's about accepting that the struggle is the balance.
Well, if the everlasting draw is any indication, we're all going to be arguing about this for a long time.
As long as the savor stays sweet, Jane, we'll keep talking. Okay, so we've been looking at these amulets, and I want to zoom in on this specific Moroccan one. Look at the text here. It mentions the diminishment of the moon.
Wait, the moon? Is that why there are those two crescent moons at the bottom of the image?
Exactly. It's literally a visual metaphor for what we were discussing earlier, that idea that Lilith's identity is tied to this loss, this separation from the whole. It's protecting the wearer against that diminishment.
It's like, if you lose the light, you lose the connection. And then look at the back of this same amulet. It's asking for protection and listing the threats. From Shittim, from spirits, from the limb, and from every evil thing.
It sounds like a very long, very depressing grocery list.
Jane, you're just in time. We're looking at the security systems of the ancient world.
I can see that. Amulets, magic circles, it's a lot of effort just to avoid a night terror.
But Jane, look at this. This is what I was telling Seth earlier. It's more than metal amulets. Look at figure 33. For women who couldn't afford silver, they used chalk. They draw magic circles on the floor of the birthing room.
Wait, they literally drew the names of Adam, Eve, and Lilith on the floor?
They did, and get this. They believed that if you gradually made the words smaller in your incantation, the evil spirit would be eased out.
So, you shrink the name until the demon gets too small to exist? That's actually strangely clever. A psychological way of fading out the intensity.
But it's more than just making her smaller. Look at the names they used in the circle. They're using the same angels we talked about, Sanbai, Sanbai Bet. They're also including the 14-letter name. It's this massive, crowded ritual space.
It's like a spiritual crowded room. I mean, if I'm a demon, I'm looking at that floor and thinking, there's zero room for me to move in here.
But then, look at the next part. The text shifts from these ritual objects to a story, a real narrative. It's the prophet Elijah. He encounters Lilith and her foul gang on the road.
Let me guess. He tries to kick them out?
He does, he says, "Away, foul creature," and threatens to turn her into dumb stone.
And what does she do? Does she just vanish?
No, this is the part that ties back to everything. She negotiates. She says, not that. She agrees to stop attacking women and children, but in exchange, she demands that whenever men recite her names or see them written, her power shall remain.
So the very act of remembering her, the very act of us talking about her right now, is how she stays in the game?
Exactly. She uses the ritual itself to ensure her survival. She's saying, you can't banish me as long as you acknowledge me.
That's actually terrifying and kind of brilliant.
So they aren't just random sounds, they are descriptions of her nature.
Right, and she makes this massive claim, Lilith cannot be banished by divine power. She can only be held at bay through full and conscious knowledge.
So the unbecoming isn't about winning the war. It's about knowing the enemy well enough to negotiate a truce.
Which is exactly what we're doing. We're negotiating with the podcast.
Anyway, let's look at the physical side of this. Koltuv brings in some really visceral stuff here. She mentions an old Babylonian trick, placing a needle near a lamp wick or wheat in the room to protect a woman in labor.
And she connects this to the idea of spinning and weaving. Like, the tools of domesticity, the needle, the wheat are actually tools of psychological protection.
It's like using the Eve tools to manage the Lilith energy.
But then, it gets really personal, and a bit wild. She tells this story of a pregnant woman who is overcome by intense sexual desire. She dreams of a wildly beautiful woman making love to her, and when she wakes up, the contractions of the orgasm become her actual labor pains.
Wow. Okay, that is incredibly powerful. It's like the boundary between the dream, the body, and the physical reality just dissolves.
It's not a very sanitized version of childbirth, I'll give you that.
And she's not alone in this. Koltuv shares a story about a colleague who, while writing about her goddess, had to literally lie on her office floor and, well, find release before she could continue her work.
I mean, I get it. Sometimes the muse is a lot more biological than we like to admit.
It's all part of that unbridled energy we were talking about, the Lilith side.
Which leads us to the final heavy hitter of this section, the distinction between the Shekinah and Lilith. This is the split we've been hunting for.
Look at this passage from the Zohar. It says, the king God dismissed the Shekinah and put the handmaid Lilith in her place.
Oh, man. So they're two sides of the same coin?
Exactly. They're both aspects of the feminine self. The Shekinah is the indwelling side, the one tied to the divine. But Lilith, she is the uncovering, the unchastity.
The unclean version of the same truth.
And the text says both are motherless forms. They both arose because of the patriarchy as the rejected, neglected pieces of the great goddess. One is the holy remnant, the other is the shadow exile.
It's so heavy. They are both hungry and weary in the wilderness.
It's like we're looking at a broken mirror. The pieces are all there, but they're scattered.
and the last thing she shows us, it's a dream from a woman analyzing her own Lilith complex. She describes a large, heavy, dirty, dark-skinned, derelict woman who falls on her, pins her to the ground, and refuses to let her up.
Until she negotiates.
The encounter is inevitable. The only question is whether you fight it or you listen.
Honestly, Seth, your tendency to turn every myth into a structured PhD thesis is exactly why you need a vacation from your own brain.
It's not a thesis, Jane. It's called providing necessary context. All right, we're back. We've been talking about the exhaustion of being good, that modern frantic need to be optimized, productive, and perfectly ordered.
And today we're looking at the antidote, or maybe the revolt. We're diving into the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv.
Which, if you're like me, sounds like a recipe for a very long night and a lot of broken hearts.
Probably, but look, the angle we're exploring is the unbecoming, why we actually need our inner demons to escape the burnout of toxic productivity.
Exactly. We're moving through a passage that isn't just about myth, but about a very real, very messy psychological breakdown.
Speaking of messy, I think my sunburn is officially in the peering stage. I'm basically a human snake right now.
We'll work through that later, Paco. Let's get into the text. So, Koltuv starts with this case study. A woman, she's having this intense, passionate affair. And the text says she was identified with Lilith's actively seductive, freely choosing, unbound, fiery nature.
I love that phrasing. Unbound. It's the opposite of everything we're trying to do with our Google calendars and habit trackers.
Right, but then look at what happens. The lover mentions the demands of reality, which, let's be honest, is basically the enemy of passion, and she just snaps. She ends it with Lilith's fiery rage.
The classic burn the bridge so you can't go back move.
But it backfires. The text says her fire cooled and she fell into this dark, heavy depression. She stopped bathing, wore the same clothes. She basically became a ghost of herself.
And then this is the kicker: she sees him, her ex, and he's clean, happy, healthy, back in the orderly world.
Ouch. That is a specific kind of psychological salt in the wound. Seeing the person you lost actually thriving in the very structure you rejected, that's brutal.
It's devastating. And that's when she has the dream.
Wait, I want to jump in here, because the dream introduces this figure, Seraphina, and the way she interacts with this woman it's not a lecture, it's a demand.
Yeah, she says she won't let the woman up unless she promises to take her home, bathe her, clothe her, basically to integrate her.
So instead of ignoring the depression, the woman has to actually host it.
Exactly. She has to make the shadow a resident, and the text ties this back to something much bigger than Zohar. It mentions the higher Shekinah and lower Shekinah joining.
This part is so heavy. The text quotes this lament from the Shekinah. She's wandering in exile, looking for her couch, her dwelling. It's this beautiful, agonizing imagery of a broken connection.
It's like when you lose your center. You're wandering through your own life looking for that place where things fit, but the bed is defiled. The temple is empty.
It's incredibly visceral. She's crying, my husband, where did you go?" It's the ache of the fragmented self.
But then, look at the shift. After the woman integrates Seraphina, the dream changes. Seraphina isn't a derelict beggar anymore. She's a wise woman, an oracle sitting on a throne underground.
Because the unclean part of the psyche, the part we tried to throw away, is actually the source of the power.
It's the transformation of the shadow into the self. The wild Lilith and the ordered Shekinah finally meet.
So the demon was actually the king and queen of the underground all along.
Precisely. And Koltuv lays out exactly what this Lilith side brings to the table. It's 4 specific, rejected qualities.
The first is lunar consciousness, the cycles, life, death, rebirth, the maiden, mother, and crone. The stuff that doesn't fit into a linear, always growing productivity mindset.
Then there's the second, the body, instinct, sexuality. The text is very blunt. Here it says in patriarchal times, female sexuality is idealized or spiritualized into being a virgin or spiritualized. But Lilith is neither. She is whore and earth. Her sexuality belongs to herself.
That's a bold claim. No filters there.
But it's necessary. If we only allow the spiritualized version of ourselves, we lose our connection to the actual breathing, heavy, earthy reality of being alive.
Third, there's prophetic knowledge, logic versus intuition. Lilith doesn't need to wrest the power of the word from the father gods. She already knows it. She's unmediated.
Which is a nightmare for anyone who loves a good spreadsheet or a controlled environment.
And finally, the fourth, the God the Mother aspect. The Adamah, the Red Mother Earth.
This is where it hits home for our theme. The text ends with this hauntingly beautiful call to action. It says, "There was a time when you were not a slave. Remember that. You walked alone, full of laughter. You bathed bare-bellied. You say you have lost all recollection of it. But remember, make an effort to remember, or failing that, invent."
Or failing that, invent. Man, that's heavy.
It's an invitation to reconstruct a part of ourselves that was systematically erased. To stop trying to be optimized and start trying to be whole.
Even if that wholeness includes a bit of the demon.
Oh, sweet relief. The delivery guy is here.
Finally, I am starving.
Okay, we're back. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're starting something heavy, something ancient, and something, if we're being honest, a little bit dangerous.
Dangerous, or just deeply, deeply necessary?
Perhaps both. We're opening the Book of Lilith by Black Koltuv, and our whole mission with this text is to look at what we call the unbecoming.
Right? Because the world tells us to optimize, to be good, to be productive, to be, well, ordered. But we're here to talk about why we might actually need our inner demons to escape that exhaustion.
And why the demon might just be the part of us that refuses to be a cog in the machine. Speaking of machines, I'm currently trying to fix my ego after realizing I'm basically a human tomato. I caught the sun yesterday, and now I'm pewing.
At least you're undergoing a metamorphosis, Paco. Very much in the spirit of the book.
Hey, if it helps me find my inner Lilith, I'll take the sunburn.
Let's look at this opening, though. Before we even get into the chapters, we have this intense dossier on the author.
It's impressive. Dr. Koltuv isn't just some myth enthusiast. She's a PhD from Columbia, trained in psychoanalysis at NYU, and deeply rooted in the Jung Institute. This is a clinical psychological investigation.
Which is so important. It's more than spooky stories. She's looking at this through the lens of clinical psychology, of human relationships and archetypes. She's traveled through Jerusalem, North Africa, the Americas. She's seen the geography of these myths firsthand.
It gives the whole thing weight, doesn't it? Like she's showing us how this energy actually functions in the human psyche, rather than just telling us Lilith is scary.
Exactly. And then, look at this blurb right here. This is where the book starts to breathe. It says, and I love the phrasing here, Lilith, a long-haired she-demon of the night, flies through Sumerian, Babylonian, Assyrian, Canaanite, Persian, Hebrew, Arabic, and Teutonic mythology.
That list is massive. It's everywhere.
It's a global footprint. And then it hits you with the heavy stuff. She is seductress, child killer, and evil energy.
Okay, so we're starting with the bad resume.
But wait, don't stop reading. Look how she immediately pivots. She says, Lilith is also one of the essentially motherless forms of the feminine self.
That changed the whole vibe for me. Motherless forms.
It's profound, right? She's saying the evil part isn't just random malice, it's a consequence. It's the neglected and rejected aspects of the great goddess.
So it's not that she's inherently bad, it's that she's a part of the divine that we basically kicked out of the house?
Precisely. And she uses this word Adamah. She says Lilith is Adamah, and that this is the part of the self that modern women need to reconnect with to avoid being spiritual outcasts.
That hits so hard, especially with how much pressure there is today to be this perfect, contained version of ourselves. If you don't integrate that wild part, you're just hollow.
It's like we're trying to live in a house with no basement. We've paved over the whole thing with productivity and forgot there's a whole wild ecosystem underneath.
And the endorsement from E. Whitman here. He says the book shows how the instinctual side of femininity has been dreaded and rejected by traditional patriarchal culture.
It's the unbecoming again. To find the truth, you have to let the perfect version of yourself fall apart.
Man, I hope my peeling skin is the first step towards some spiritual awakening and not a trip to the pharmacy.
We'll see, Paco. We'll see. Let's keep going. It's funny looking back at where we started. With that first case, study the woman lost in her own shadow to where we are now at the end of this journey through Koltuv's text. We've gone from fearing the demon to realizing that the demon is actually the keeper of our vitality.
It really has been a transformative reading for me. We started by talking about the exhaustion of being good and ordered, and we're ending with this profound realization that our true strength lies in the unclean, the wild, and the cyclical. Integrating Lilith isn't about embracing destruction. It's about reclaiming the parts of our humanity that we were told to suppress for the sake of being productive.
Yeah, I think I'm walking away with a lot less need to optimize my life, and a lot more interest in just inhabiting it. Even the messy parts. Even the parts that feel like they're unbecoming, though I'm still definitely going to use some moisturizer on this nose. The unbecoming of my skin is getting a bit too literal.
We can all work on that, Paco. But truly, this book has been a masterclass in psychological archaeology. It's taught us that the shadow isn't just a dark room to be feared, but a wellspring of wisdom, instinct, and a very real, very earthy connection to the world. To find ourselves, we don't need more spreadsheets. We need to remember the Adamah.
To remember or to invent. What a beautiful way to leave it.
That's all for this journey through the Book of Lilith. Thank you for wandering through these shadows with us. It's been heavy, it's been intense, but it's been deeply worth it.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some aloe vera and a very large slice of mango calling my name.
Goodbye, everyone. Stay wild.
And stay whole. We'll see you next time.